Welcome to Coffee with Chris. I'm joined today by model, actor, athlete, bodybuilder, superstar, Matt Daciw. Welcome, Matt. Thank you.
It's pronounced Daciw, but that's okay. That's
Is
okay.
it? I've been
Well, I
saying
think
your
so. I don't
name
know.
wrong forever.
I always joke around that half the people in my family probably can't pronounce it properly anyway, so it's all right.
So how do you say the last name?
Daciw.
Daciw.
Yeah.
Awesome. Matt
Now,
Daciw.
if it's any consolation, so the last name is Ukrainian. If it's any consolation, I've had someone from Ukraine tell me that we pronounce it improperly. So if it's any consolation, Chris, I can't pronounce it properly either.
To me, absolutely. I'll take that win. I really will.
It's possible that you said it the right way, and I'm miscorrecting.
Hey, Lynn, I got an easy last name, so it's hard for people. They usually add an S, and I'm like, nope, there's no S, and I'm wrong, but whatever.
Yeah, and your middle name's Max too, right?
Yeah, it has to be. It has to be.
Yeah,
that along with my dog and my hair dryer.
Yeah.
So, Matt, you're with us today. You're the founder of Titan Training. You're a bodybuilder. You work with Blue Star supplements. Is that right?
Yes, Blue Star Nutraceuticals. Yeah.
So talk to me through, how did you get involved in bodybuilding? How did you get involved in the way that you look? Tell me about this lifestyle.
Well, if I'm being 100% honest, I was just a skinny little nerdy kid that couldn't get a date and got pushed around. And I grew up watching the Van Damme movies and the Stallone movies and the Schwarzenegger movies, and I always just thought one day it'd be cool to be superhuman. And that's kind of how I got started. So it was all egotistical, if I'm being honest. But I quickly grew a love for it. For the first couple of years, I had no clue what I was doing. And then I found out that there was a gym halfway up the street from me. And once I got into there, man, I kind of never looked back. I fell in love with it. I really find the whole process, learning about my body, doing the different workouts. I'm kind of a nerd when it comes to all this stuff. So I really just fell in love with it. And just, I got into mixed martial arts eventually. I competed in the Highland Games for about 16 years. I've done strongman. I've done some boxing. So I've kind of walked a lot of the spectrum, all the different types of training, and I love all of it.
So when you look, and I know you and I have chatted about this on and off for a couple of years, when you do the amount of workouts that you do, and it becomes this lifestyle, and you're Titan Training, right? So in a day, how many hours with Titan Training, because that's the company, right?
Yes. Yeah.
All right. So Monday to Friday, you're training people under Titan Training. What is that? You're working out like 8 hours a day, aren't you?
Well, I mean, I consider myself like a job foreman. I really just, I tell other people to work a lot of times, right? But I do pick up their weights and put them away and take them out. So, I mean, if you could consider that working out. But I mean, I'm on the floor, I'm moving around, probably a minimum of, last couple of days, just getting back from vacation, for example, it was a 12-hour day on Monday. Yesterday was a 14-hour day. Today's a little bit lighter, but I'm moving around quite a bit. And then depending on how my training goes, my personal training, like for myself, I'm always kind of working on different things. So, for example, I hired a kickboxing coach from the UK to help me with mobility. So I hired him for the year. So I'm doing mobility workouts every single day. I'm doing my strength and size workouts probably 4 or 5 times a week. On top of that, I'm going to start, one of my old clients who's become a really good friend is a world-class swimmer. And I can swim, but it's not pretty. I always call it more like actively trying not to drown. So he said that he would offer to teach me in the ways of the master how to do that. And then I don't know if you can see in the background here, but there's a whole bunch of belts there. My roommate here is he's a 2-time world champion boxer. And we trained together for a couple of years, one-on-one. And we've had some time off there for a while, but we're going to get back into that too. So I'm pretty active in terms of training.
It's it's this neat piece where someone would look at you, for example, and say, you're working out, you're lifting up these weights, doing the exercises, you don't need any help at all. And what you're actually saying is that there's a whole team of people that you relied on or used at one point to get you where you are and to keep you there.
Oh, absolutely. No, I wouldn't. I don't know how far I'd get without help, if I'm being honest. I mean, I can learn a lot and whatnot, but after 25, so I've been working out for about 25 years now. I just aged myself there. I know I look great for my age, don't I? You were going to say that, I bet.
You and I both. You look great for 25, and I look great for someone in their mid 40s.
To be honest with you, I get bored easily. So one of the reasons why I've done so many different types of training is just because I either get bored with what I'm doing, or I see someone else doing something cool and I think, hey, I want to do that. And then if you want to do something new, well, you go and learn from someone who's good at it. So I've been really blessed to have a lot of really great people kind of come into my life that were nice enough to kind of take me under their wing and help me with a lot of different things. And then, just because I geek out and spend, whatever time I can on my own kind of training to some random things, then I'll just try to pick up things and learn where I can on my own too. So it's been a mixed bag for sure.
I can't imagine you as a 15 skinny-year-old skinny kid hanging out in the eating lunch in the bathroom type of thing. I can't picture it, but I'm sure it was true.
I'll send you pictures.
So walk me through Titan training. Someone calls you up and says, Matt, you're Titan training. What does that process look like for your clients?
So typically first thing I do is a consultation because I need to figure out if it's going to be a good fit both for the potential client and for myself. It's really important that you work with people that are gonna. I've had clients before where it's just not a good match, and that's nothing bad to do with them or bad to do with me. It's just maybe it's a personality clash, maybe that's an attitude clash. And one of the things when I'm as busy as I am is that I want to make sure that the people I'm working with want to be there and are gonna, they don't have to bring their best every single day, but they want to be there and they're gonna bring good energy most of the time. Because when you're working consistently doing 12-hour days, if not more, and then managing a business. I don't know if I mentioned to you, but I also bought a gym again. So I've got that I'm taking care of as well. Plus, doing all these other things. If you have someone that, is pulling energy out of you, it becomes really hard to continue to go on with your day. So I like to make sure that we're a match both ways. And then, after the consultation, if they decide they want to work with me, I just go through a few different things. So I'll do an assessment right off the hop, which is usually more mobility, movement screenings, that type of thing. I just want to see how someone, if where their body might be lacking the ability to hit certain positions. And I want to make sure that we address that. So from there, I make them a customized warm-up program. Then I take a session where I go over the whole thing with them. I go over all the science so that I can geek out and look really smart. Use a bunch of words that I just made up that they don't know. And then I'm a really big stickler for biomechanics, moving properly. There's a lot of people in the training game, and there's nothing. A lot of people do good work, even if they're not directed the kind of the same way I am. But for me, I want people not only to hit their goals, but I also want to improve their quality of life in terms of how their body feels. If someone came to me and they had a goal to deadlift 600 pounds and I helped them do that, but they got broken somewhere along the way, then I didn't really help them. I hindered them. One of my best accolades, like one of the things that I think really make this enjoyable for me is when I can get someone that's been in pain for 13 years saying I'm not in pain anymore, or a dad that says I can play with my kids again. That to me is the big thing. So I usually take a few sessions to go over the movement patterns in depth. And then that way, when we start our workouts, I'm not stopping them every 2 seconds to explain everything to them. I can kind of front end load the education, and then we just start going on workouts. And then I start torturing them after that.
Now, when you're doing the Titan training and you're doing these personal workouts and you're making these plans, what is the rumor, I guess, when we look at nutrition and the calorie intake versus the calorie burning? How important is eating properly or eating differently mixed with training? Can we just work out Monday to Friday and still eat whatever we want? Moderation, of course. But is there something that says, you know what, you can still eat these cookies and you can still have your cookie dough and your ice cream, But the reality is, if you want to make the changes, we have to take nutrition and healthy eating as well. Or is that kind of, nope, work out 7 days a week instead?
Yeah, well, there's a famous saying that I think will always hold true, and it's that you can't out train a bad diet. Um, and especially nowadays, there's so many of these different additives and endocrine disrupting things in the diet, and all these different chemicals and whatnot that have different effects on our hormonal system. It's really important that we clean up what we're putting into our body. Because if you're putting garbage into your body, it doesn't really matter what you do to some degree. It's going to be hard to get the output that you're looking to get from it. So diet's critical. It doesn't mean you have to be perfect all the time. In fact, when I make a meal plan for someone, I'm only assuming 85-90% compliance. So I'll actually factor some cheat meals and stuff into there for them, because I think it's important too to be able to live a little and enjoy the little things in life here and there too. It's just really more important that you control them as opposed to them controlling you. But training is the training is kind of like the if there was a pyramid, I would say diet is the bottom level. The most important thing. Training is the next thing. And then there's the different levels of training. You got resistance training, you've got your hips training, you've got your cardiovascular training, that kind of thing, which should be stacked pretty much in that particular order. But I mean, I try to take a holistic approach and help someone in all aspects. But if there's things such as rest, people being able to sleep properly. A lot of times nowadays, people are so stressed out they can't even get a good sleep. And a lot of times you can have everything else dialed in, but if you're not sleeping, nothing's going to work. So there's a few different kind of critical components that I try to piece together for everyone. And if I find there's a weak link in their chain anywhere, then that's where I kind of want to pour the energy in to really help them out with that. So the training is just one part of it.
So when we look at Titan training, and you had mentioned that you have a gym, what's the gym name?
The gym's name is Lil's Gym. So I took it over from a gentleman that owned it, and he named it after his dog.
Okay.
Yeah, his dog was Lil, and that's a pretty cool backstory because he was going through a rough time, and he ended up adopting this dog, and then she became like the gym dog, and she was there all the time. I think he lived there, and they became really that they were family. So there was already, when I bought the gym, there was already a community of people there. It was already group training there, a membership base, and I really like one of the things I really thought that that I really liked about the place was the community. I liked the backstory, and I didn't think that it was important for me to be selfish and rebrand or anything like that. And just carry the torch, take the torch and carry it keep carrying it for Lil.
Now, normally when people see you in your photos and Titan training and Lil's gym, and certainly myself, you have your beard is a little less. Is there some reason that we're growing it as vigorously as we are?
Yeah, well, I joke around that it's to hide my extra chin. But I'm actually I got a movie role coming up where I'm going to be the character in this movie is going to be a person that's been in the bush for quite some time as a barbarian. All barbarians got to have beards. So the producer, when he talked to me about it, he messaged me up, and the first thing he just said, "How fast can you grow a beard?" So I said, "Well, I don't know. I've never grown it long before." So I think this is about 3 months in. It's going pretty well. I take care of it. I put the beard oil in, and do all that fun stuff, which I think has really helped. But it's a different look for me, but I kind of like it.
So when we talk about your Titan training, Lil's gym, you mental health, dieting, how do you manage to balance all this? You're an actor, you're Titan training plus the gym. What does that schedule look like for you?
Well, it's not easy. Sometimes it's kind of a nightmare, to be honest with you. I'm still going almost through it's funny because I've been doing this now for a number of years, and I kind of go through this roller coaster of sometimes I'm bad for taking on way more than I can handle, but I'm also the type of person that being overwhelmed is what brings out the best in me. So it's this kind of like a catch-22 where I get myself in these spots where I'm like, oh my God, I got too much on my plate. But then that triggers something in my head that says, you need to take yourself to the next level. So balancing it out is really just keeping a good mental attitude. So like first thing in the morning, for example, I used to be that guy that I'm not a morning person. Let me make that clear. I am not. And I've had genetic testing done where I didn't realize they could test this, but you can find out if you're a morning person genetically. I'm genetically not a morning person either. Um, so mornings are tough for me. But right now, for example, I have a client that wants to train with me 5 days a week at 6 a.m. So I have to be up at 5 a.m. So, when I first started doing that, hit the snooze, and I realized that was really, it's kind of like a lose right off the bat. So one of the things in terms of like trying to keep my mental state in a good place is, I try to get wins first thing in the morning. So I don't want to hit snooze, because saying snooze or hitting snooze is like saying no to the day. Like, I don't want to do this. I'm not ready. And I don't want that to be the first thought that goes in my head when I wake up. So I don't allow myself to hit snooze. Get up. First thing I do is make my bed. It's important to me to get a few wins first thing. I don't allow myself to watch social media. And the more I used to get up in the morning and, put on social media, there's so much unfortunate stuff going on in the world right now that would just start me off to a negative start. So keeping that mental space positive is super important, and dialing that in and really being disciplined about that is critical. Having a schedule. I got a whiteboard that has all my, everything that I got in terms of my consistent clients, what I got on there. I got the schedule on my phone, but, I used to think that scheduling everything out all the time was just, restricting me. I don't like to feel like I'm in a jail cell or anything. Right. But having a good routine and having things scheduled out properly actually creates a lot of freedom, because sometimes you don't realize how much time you're wasting until you sit down and look at all the open slots that you had that you could have been more productive, but maybe you were doing something less productive because you're just killing time because you don't have anything, you haven't set something up next for yourself. So managing it is really just a matter of keeping my mental health in the right spot by being disciplined like that, and then schedule.
I love it. As I mentioned, you are an actor. Is there a role that you've done, past, present, coming up, that you can, like, what's the weirdest role that someone said, hey Matt, you know what, I want you to play this character or embody this? If you could look back and say, man, that was the weirdest one ever, what would that be?
Weird. That's a good question. Because I find like I typically get relatively similar roles, like the big grunt that just gets to, chase after someone and then get his butt kicked, which I'm cool with. There was a role recently where I got my heart ripped out, and and if I'm being honest, a lot of the roles are very similar in that sense. So I'm not sure if there's been a ton of weird roles, but I would say this next one that's coming up is the most exciting one, because I get to be a barbarian. I get to be a bad guy. But my friend who's putting this together, usually when I'm in his movies, I end up getting my butt kicked at some point. I get to, for the first thing we're doing is we're going to start filming, and I get to win a couple fights. So I'm not sure about weird, but I'll say that this one I'm pretty excited about.
Fair enough. Yeah, no, that heart ripped out one for sure. I'm excited to see how that all pieces together.
Yeah.
So I want to talk to you about Blue Star.
Yes.
Right. So how did you get involved in that? There's a lot of supplement companies and nutrition companies. So what about Blue Star that you were like, hey, this is the one for my body? Is there anything that says, this product or brand is better for somebody else's body? Is there, can Blue Star, I guess, work for everybody?
So great question. So how I kind of came into contact with Blue Star was kind of by chance, actually, but I'm in Kitchener. They're a Guelph-based company originally, and actually the owner contacted me because he was in contact at the time with my business partner, and my business partner was like, hey, you got to check this guy out. I think he was looking for some athletes to kind of take on board and to represent the company, and that was in the earlier stages of the company, like not at the beginning phases, but like a little bit earlier on. And he brought me in for an interview, the owner of the company, and we kind of clicked right away. And I mean, as a meathead, even a nerdy meathead, the idea of having a supplement sponsorship is really neat and really cool. But more than that, it was important to me that I've been in sales before, numerous times in my life. I've had a ton of different jobs, and one of the things is that, like, I don't want to represent a company that I don't really like or back, right? And when I got talking to the owner of the company and looking at the company itself and the type of products they offer, I was on board right away because they do the research, they present the research, they take care of the people that they work with. Everyone that works there is super happy to be there. They're super awesome. It's just a great team. They make great products, have a ton of fun. I'm honored to be there. I mean, they got people on the team now that are, real world-class athletes. So I'm just honored to be able to shine up there with them. That's all.
It seems to be when I've chatted with you about Blue Star in the past that they are very transparent.
Yes.
Um, a lot of other companies, you look at them and you say, well, hey, can you give me any additional information? And it's like, oh, here's a video or whatever it is. And Blue Star really seems to do a lot of hand holding to walk potential customers or customers, clients, and sponsors through exactly what it is, which I always found was really neat. I mean, I'm not on Blue Star. I'm not a Blue Star representative. I don't look like Matt, but maybe one day. But it's just
You'll
neat
get there.
that's
You'll
how
get there.
that. It's neat how that marriage came together for you, where they're like, "Hey, we're looking to branch out," and you took the time, and they took the time to explain it for you. Again, not everyone does that.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and they're also like, in terms of, again, their transparency and whatnot. Like there's not a lot of regulatory bodies that really look into a lot of these supplement companies, especially in the States, and they can kind of put whatever into the products, and sometimes people don't know. Blue Star is one of the only companies that are third party tested. And again, they show all the white papers. They let you know the science that backs everything that they put in their formulas. So that's again, like if I'm gonna represent a product, I want to make sure it's a good product that I believe in, that I know will help people. And so it was just really it was really fortunate kind of merge there that I just happened to kind of come into contact with them. I'm really grateful that it happened, but they're a great company, and I'm not just saying that because I'm a representative. I've had a lot of fun working with them. We've done commercials, and some of these commercials, like they're paid commercials on Facebook and stuff, but I end up some of these get like a million views, some of them. And I have friends in the States and different areas in Canada, and they'll message me up and like, hey dude, I just saw you on my Instagram or whatever. I've had a guy at the gym that one of his friends who lived out in BC sent him a copy of this video, and he's like, holy crap, like I know that guy, he owns the gym I train at. Because a lot of the members there don't necessarily know that I do this stuff, right? So
Oh, they do now, or at least the ones that will. So Matt, a personal question for you. What is something that people tend to misunderstand about you the most?
um I think the biggest misunderstanding is that I'm some intimidating person that's not easy to talk to. I've heard that countless times in my life, and it's funny because, like I said, I'm still this 15-year-old kind of nerdy, skinny kid. Even when I look in the mirror, I don't really. Sometimes I see a picture of myself, I'm like, oh my god, I got to stop working out so much. It's amazing anyone walks up to me at all. But that would probably be the most common thing where people come up and talk to me like, holy, you know what? I was really like, I was almost afraid to come up and talk to you, but man, I made a big mistake. And a lot of times, actually, you'll find that with a lot of, I would say, the a lot of big guys, especially if they're, a lot of times if they're doing strongman competitions, that kind of stuff, is they're actually very, very personable, and they're just people like anyone else. And they just found a different hobby than some other people. That's all. And that hobby just happens to make them look 3 times the size of other human beings.
That's fair. And if there was something that, if you could say we need to stop doing this or start doing that as a society, what would that message be from you?
Well, as I said, like I'm a nerd, so I do a ton of reading. I'm always curious about things. I always learn things, and one of the foundations that I operate from is knowing that I don't know everything, and probably a lot of things that I think I know, I don't actually know. I think a lot of people need to stop judging books by their covers, stop just taking people's words for things, and really start, getting actively involved in life, getting actively involved in learning, not just basing everything they do on people's opinions, and really just taking kind of responsibility, not just for themselves, but what's going on around them by growing as individuals. My personal opinion is a lot of times nowadays people are looking for the easy way out. They're looking for quick fixes. They want pills to do this job for them or that job. I always even say with the supplement stuff, I said, like, if if someone says, "Hey, is this supplement going to work for me?" I'm like, "Well, you got to work first." Like no supplement you take is going to do the job for you. A supplement is meant to be just that. It's supposed to be an aid, but you have to have all the other things in there first. I guess if I had to say that something I'd like to see more of is people taking kind of that personal responsibility, and working more to work on themselves in hopes of making everything a little bit better. Set the example.
I like that. It's a lot about progression, not perfection. There's always something to help, but if you're not doing anything right now, then asking for help or getting help isn't really going to work for you anyway because you're not doing anything.
Yeah, exactly. And you know what? Life gives you exactly what you need. And sometimes what you need is a kick in the face. I hate to say it, but last year was a really tough year for me, and I got myself in a couple tough spots with some things, and I had to face a lot of things, and it was facing that got me out of it, as opposed to being the poor me type thing. And sometimes what you need is a fight. Sometimes what you need is something that's going to bring that out of you, right? So I know it is for me, anyways. Otherwise, I'll be too
I think you
lazy.
said it. You said it perfectly, right? We all have this shadow or thing that we're trying to overcome or run away from, and sometimes you got to stand still and just fight it away.
Yeah. And the other thing too is like, as far as perfection is concerned, no one wants to like. I don't think people are always like, are perfectionist. Be great, but don't worry about being perfect, because no one would like you if you were perfect. Because if you were perfect, everyone else would despise you, because they would all look at you and be like, I can never be that. Right. So don't worry about being perfect. Be yourself and be the best version of you can be.
I like that. My last question for you, Matt, before I let you go today is, what makes Matt Daciw smile?
You do. Trick question. Did I answer it right? Uh, um, you know what? I There's a lot of things that make me smile. I try to spend a lot of time, paying attention to what I have to be grateful for. I have so much to be grateful for. But I think the things that really make me smile are like really like forming an honest connection with people and really being able to help them, or really seeing other people help other people, or really seeing like, I love underdog stories. I love seeing people like fight their way out of tough times, and people coming together and helping, just that love. It's one of those things. It's a higher power for a reason. That always makes me smile.
I love that, Matt. And we can learn more about you on titantraining.com or .ca.
It's titan-training.ca. That's my training website. And if anyone wants to follow me on Instagram, I'm Titan_training on Instagram.
Fabulous. That's all the time I have, Matt. Thank you so much for your time today. Have a fantastic day, everybody. And remember to smile to inspire.
Cheers. Thanks, brother.